Tonight's lecture of the Adventure Society is a report from our lovely treasure on her journey to playwright New Gunnysack, the most primitive spot on Earth, far from civilization's touch, or as Abigail puts it, a tale of paranoia in a very foreign land. Abigail?
Thank you, President. I want to thank you all for your support and for taking care of my two dachshunds, Fifi and Bubbles, while I was gone these many weeks. Bubbles is recuperating nicely. And I hope all will come to Fifi's funeral at Happy Sleep Animal Mortuary on Thursday. Holy shit! Would you look at that? Was what our guide said when we came over the rise and looked down on the mounds of the long forgotten city, which we also forgot.
Abigail! Abigail! You're being paid for this, remember? A tidy sum on the top of the cost of the trip. Now continue. Tell us about this adventure you were on. Tell us. Go on, tell us.
Sorry. I just had a flashback on the trip.
I hope it was a good one because, it was expensive.
Oh, yes, it was.
So, begin.
Well, yes, of course. As I've said, it was just about to. We rowed ourselves ashore shortly after the tourist liner capsized. Hiding in the bushes, we decided to stay together, as close together as possible. Real close. So as not to get lost. The air was thick enough to wash in. Several large bald birds exploded over our heads, covering our small, close-packed group with down and feathers as we passed by. Amos, our guide pig, which I was told not to buy, charged off down the trail, scaring up small snail and sow bugs and tarantulas and the squiggly things that soon ate him. No more guide pig. It was a ghastly sight to see a full-grown guide pig purchased at considerable expense, I must say, using up most of our budget, and here it was, eaten, consumed, swallowed whole by snails and sow bugs. It gives me the shivers just to remember it.
What happened to the tarantulas?
Well, ran like hell. What do you think that stupid pig was chasing?
Would you continue, please?
The air was thick enough to wash in.
You said that already.
Well, it really was. It was like swimming in the wet air.
We don't care. Would you continue?
All right. Sheltered by unexotic fruit trees, we walked along a clearly marked path. We became lost many times.
Abigail, didn't you bring us some slides to show or something?
No, we lost the camera in the boat accident. But if you use your imagination, you can picture us being greeted by scores of children with gifts of flying stone and sailing spears. Oh, yes, such a pretty sight. And in our hasty retreat, the village was heard to be alive with taunts and laughter. Oh, yes, seems like it was yesterday. And it was. But that was when we were rescued the island of Mammoth. As I forgot to tell you, you'll find out I forget to tell you many more things before the evening is over. Anyhow, the island of Mammoth is off the coast of Playwright, New Gunnysack. Over there somewhere. Well, I don't know where. Well, we were beginning the second leg of our two-pantsuit. Get it? Second leg of our two-pantsuit. Tough crowd. Oh, forget it. Nobody buys pantsuits anymore anyways. So we had the week before, in preparation, booked ourselves into the most expensive hotel in Kaufman Cove. You know where that is? Oh, well, neither do I. The money came out of the treasury. Oh, there's plenty. What? Oh, well, there was plenty, which is the reason we charge so much for this lecture tonight. You will be glad to know that we all suffered third-degree burns, so it wasn't all a bed of roses. I also had this chance to go scuba diving off Kaufman Cove near Port to Arthur Miller, but why bother? You have to put on those heavy round things to breathe out of, and the water was all wet. And if you can believe this, you had to go under the water. Why bother when you can lay around on the beach all day and get a lovely suntan? Okay, now here comes the good part. The location of the main island of New Gunnysack is the least inconspicuous. Its native population is one of the most what? Oh, who cares? Who cares? What the shit? These natives are all out there in the middle of nowhere somewhere living this shitty, primitive existence on this crummy little island, bored to tears. Bored to utter tears. No cable, no TVs, no delis, no Rolling Stone concerts, no nothing. Who needs it? Who needs them in this shitty little island? Ooh, they really pissed me off.
Abigail, calm down. We let you go on this little vacation at the club's expense, and you're a totally changed person.
Well, I'm sorry, but it's just that I had such an experience, I can tell you.
But you must.
But I can't. It was awful.
But that's why you're here.
Why's that?
To tell us about it. We set up the lecture hall, sold tickets, trying to recoup the cost of your trip.
Huh?
You'll never get to go on another one.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, now I remember why I'm here. How silly of me. You're so right.
So, go on. Everybody, Abigail will now tell us of her adventure.
Well, anyway, some history of the island first, okay? Sounds good? The natives of Playwright, New Gunnysack, gained their independence from the present administration through the use of subterfuge, intrigue, and poor management. Although the western part of the island, Lost Angels, continues under the misconception that it knows what it is doing. First sighted by entrepreneurs and pederasts in the late 1800s, New Gunnysack was claimed in succeeding decades by the Swedes, the Mongols, and the Negroes. The people of the island speak some 7,000 malapropisms. Backsaddled by kinky hang-ups, the need for money is never very far from their minds. They use English to get what they want. A group leader, James Earl James, asked if any of us knew the names of the village we had just run from. I'm back to story, aren't I? I must have the cards confused. Nope, just the way I wanted them. Well, anyway, we answered him as he called out a keynoted phrase from our keynote phrase book. Now this is a very tricky call and calls for me to stand back several feet. And Mr. James called out, wait, let me try that again. Everyone sick or dying? Thank you. And the headman, or the maitre d' as he is called, replied,
Yes, but it will cost you to see them!
So, we were invited in for a lovely meal. Afterwards, at dusk, outside the village, as thunderheads spit above the horizon and the red sunset highlighted the cubicle silhouettes of a bar and grill, we farted from the dinner. I know I said farted because someone did, but wouldn't say who. And it smelled like the backside of a brontosaurus from the dinner we just had of burnt beans, fresh roasted sour cream, and Neanderthal, a deadening form of liqueur. Our meal had been accompanied by the screaming and whining of caged birds and monkeys, handcuffed to each other. About 3,000 natives had gathered around while we ate and watched us with open palms, singing songs of cruelty and hardship late into the night until we figured out we had to pay them to stop. The next day, we gathered our gear together, or what was left of it, after the previous night's thievery, and with a group of reluctant but overpaid Pullman car employees, we headed for the south side of Island of Mammoth. Passing hurriedly through 2 other villages, we were reminded of the pillages of the ancient Hun Genghis Khan, where scores of people were chained together and killed in a sport not unlike our present-day game of bowling, only using sharp knives in this case. A rainstorm always seemed to be following us. Leaving the rest of the island always sunny and bright. Go figure. We crossed an active lava flow, losing half our party in a case of dry after dinner. As we walked, Nancy Milford, our interpreter of Mammoth culture, bothered us by telling some of the mythology of the island. According to fact, or at least legend, a half-crazed hooker by the name of McGill lived near the outskirts of the biggest active volcano in the area, called the Big One. She had been placed there long ago after being stolen from her beautiful pimp. Now, looking to being someone's wife, McGill traveled from the Big One wearing a skirt slit up the front with a low neck sweater. The 2 frocks met somewhere near her navel. In other words, she was readily displayed for any chooser. Whistles followed her everywhere, and her trail was marked with fallen virtue as she looked for that particular husband. And she will look forever, because we all know good men hide. Old people of the island believe this story and avoid the teller at whatever cost. But the younger adults, educated by bad movies, are willing to follow in her footsteps no matter the style of high heels she wore. Nancy finally shut up when we arrived at the volcano's base. And what a base it was! Mama! The jungle in this area had been burnt away to make room for a casino. And despite the early hour and the incomplete stage of the building, we saw lines of gamblers already forming, singing songs of despair and easy money. After being jerked out of line by James Earl James, we ascended a steep trail above the casino, cutting through a mass of anti-tank traps, barbed wire, and telephone cables. We listened to the stillness of the jungle, interrupted only occasionally by the rat-a-tat of distant machine gun fire and the melodies of whistling mortar shells. Though shaded by the trees, we sweated profusely, worrying that the IRS wouldn't let us write this trip off on our taxes. Above us, fog stood on the cliffs like vultures. Suddenly, the vegetation ended abruptly and refused to go a step further. A swirling mist fell behind us and said they would follow us where the vegetation said it wouldn't. They started fighting. It wasn't a pretty sight. We tried to sneak off, but the vegetation fell behind us and started to follow us. But we told it to go away. Who wants vegetation to follow you around? Then the mist leaped on the vegetation and the fight resumed. This time the mist came out on top and it started following us. We let it. Have you ever tried to tell vaporized water to go away? It was no easy task, I tell you. What hardships we endured. At the summit, beneath our feet, lay a green carpet of astroturf, the third hole of a golf course under construction. And beyond, yes, beyond was the blue ocean with a yellow and brown oil slick, with an oil tanker in the middle. Few wisps of clouds slipped by, making cat calls and other confusing animal noises. And for a few moments, we couldn't see Isbin, who dwells on the mountaintop. Why he dwells there is beyond me. On all fours, all four of us who were left started to make our way back down the mountain slope. We found a young boy who had followed us up the path under orders from his elders to do us in, but had fallen and impaled himself on the poisoned tip of a piece of chewing gum that he was going to pester us to buy. We carried the boy under a fit of self-pity down the mountain. Sometimes we rolled him along to test the path. It was tough going. It really was. Especially with the allurement of the billboards advertising for McDonald's. But at any rate, women from the village met us with sticks and arrows to point the way. Because of the strong emotions triggered by the little boy incident and the utter uniqueness of our visit, they had never seen anyone go hiking in Gucci shoes before, so they refused to offer us the traditional poison juicy fruit. So the boy died for no reason. The head honcho of the village arranged for us a series of free dances to be paid for by the month. At his signal, a hidden group of men began playing their skin flutes. Now, throughout playwright New Gunny Sack, we were told that this music, a sharp slapping sound, was the exclusive province of the men. Women and young boys were taught that this music is the calling of birds that do not reveal themselves to womankind because of the hairiness of their claws. Only upon initiation into manhood are boys told that men are the source of these strange erotic sounds.
Abigail, I have to stop you there. Shouldn't that be exotic?
If you had heard them, you would have known what was erotic and what was exotic. Who was that, you or I? Can I continue?
Yes, please do.
Women, on the other hand, are never allowed to see these skin flutes until it is too late. But then many learn to play them too. Then, and this is the exciting part,
Finally.
this is my adventure and I'm telling it the way I want to.
Yes, of course.
As I was saying, from another part of the village, dancers emerged from the darkness, shrieking and spewing in procession, wearing big masks, one of them being that of our extinct